hold on to those rings, charge up that spin dash. Today we embark on a high-speed adventure across Angel Island to stop the evil Dr. Eggman on its quest for world domination. This is That One Game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Hello there, friends, fans, and everyone in between. Welcome to episode 8 of That One Gaming Podcast. I'm Colin, otherwise known as Delicious Morsels, and here with me today, I've got Lucas, aka Carnival9. How you doing, Lucas?
Doing good.
All right, and we've also got our resident Sonic expert here today. His name is Neal, better known as VMK89. How you doing, Neal?
Sup?
All right. So today on the show, we are going to be taking a look at what many consider to be the greatest Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made as we discuss that one game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 released for the Sega Genesis on February 2, 1994 in North America. Later that year, on October 18, Sonic and Knuckles would follow and bring with it Sega's famous lock-on technology. This allows certain games to be slotted into the top of the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge to unlock additional gameplay features. However, when Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was locked on, the two games melded together into one single game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This game, in this form, is actually the original intended release for Sonic 3, but due to time constraints imposed by Sega, the game ended up being split into two parts. But anyway, let's just dive right in, shall we? Spoilers for later. I am probably gonna have some hot takes that might not go over well with the Sonic fandom on this one, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So basically the game starts out on Angel Island. You're flying in with Sonic and Tails on Tails' airplane, and then Knuckles pops out of nowhere.
Knuckles punches the Super Saiyan out of Sonic.
Knuckles punches the Super Saiyan out of Sonic, spills all his Chaos Emeralds. Knuckles scoops him up, laughs about it, and then he runs off. And then you start off with Angel Island Zone, which is basically this game's version of Green Hill or Emerald Hill.
You could say Knuckles chuckles.
Oh. I didn't think he chuckled. I thought he'd rather flex his knuckles.
Nunchucks,
That's
more
such
like
an ironic...
chucks.
It's such an ironic line in that song because the literal first thing you see him do after punching Sonic is chuckle.
Yeah. Shout outs to Triple Q.
Heck yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but in my playthrough I ended up recovering all of the emeralds.
I didn't complete my playthrough yet. But I've played this game multiple times,
yes.
So I'm okay.
I think I got one. I will say, like, the bonus level in this game isn't terrible. I messed up more
of the classics,
than I was willing to go back and repeat it.
I think of the classic Sonic games, this is my favorite of the bonus games.
It's probably the most straightforward of the bonus games, I would say.
Yeah,
Half
that
Pipe
is generally the Sonic.
Yeah, Half Pipe is kind of meh, and I don't quite understand how to play the Sonic 1.
I love the Sonic 1. That's my favorite.
It's really cool. I don't know how to play it.
That's funny, because I'm over here and Half Pipe is my favorite. I don't know, it was just always really fun to go flipping around in circles and all that.
Yeah, but it's really hard.
It gets going really fast, and you gotta have like some really good reaction time once they start putting those bombs in there.
Yeah. So, on the subject of blue spheres, Sonic 3 and Knuckles' Chaos Emerald minigame, I did a little bit of reading into it because I wanted to look up maps because it can be very tough, especially once blue spheres start speeding up. Apparently, blue spheres was based off of, like, Goku running around chasing Cricket on King Kai's planet.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I can see it.
And
That makes sense.
there's 7 Chaos Emeralds and there's 7 Dragon Balls, and I can't stop seeing
Oh my god.
Dragon Ball and
Oh my god.
Sonic series like references to each other.
It all makes sense now. That's why Sonic
Like-
turns yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Dragon Ball.
He's going Super Saiyan, actually. It's not just a like, oh, he turned yellow just like Goku, lol. It's like he collected the 7 Dragon Balls and became super.
Interestingly, I'm pretty sure this is correct. I looked into this a long time ago on Wikipedia. The manga came out long before Sonic went supersonic, but the episode of Dragon Ball Z that came out of where Goku goes Super Saiyan actually came out in America later than Sonic 2 did.
Huh.
Which is weird to think about.
Yeah. Oh man. I've got it backwards. Akira Toriyama copied Yuji Naka.
Copied Sonic? What? No! Everything is wrong.
Yep.
I mean, also Toei animated the Sonic CD intro, so there's more connections there too.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is wild.
That's part of why that's so good. Is it's Toei.
Yeah, Sonic CD's FMV sequences are really good. All like what, 2 or 3 of them.
There's 2.
Yeah.
No, there's 3 because there's an alternate version of the ending.
Yeah. Right, probably
No,
the one where
is
you
there
collect
4?
all the time stones or something like that.
Yeah, where you collect all the time stones, you get a special ending. So there's technically 4 because there's the intro, there's the outro with Amy, there's the other version of the outro with Amy, and then there's the credits, which has its own FMV as well.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, better Toei animation than like animation magic. Imagine CDI Sonic.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Now, I did only collect all the emeralds in the Sonic and Tails playthrough. On the Carnival 9, that one gaming podcast YouTube channel, there's playthroughs of both Sonic collecting all the emeralds with the best ending, and then just a straight Knuckles playthrough. Because Knuckles' playthrough doesn't really change all that much if you collect all the emeralds. It just kind of adds runtime. So,
yeah.
Runtime in
Knuckles
a
goes
Sonic
super
game.
too.
Knuckles can go super and hyper.
Yes. And hyper. Tails can just go super, but he has to have all the super emeralds.
Yep.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
But you also get a flicky army of death, so
Yeah.
that's a plus.
Wait, what?
The flicky
Yeah.
army of death.
A flicky army of death.
Yep.
Explain.
So,
You want to take
Tails.
this, Lucas? Yeah.
Yeah. In order to get Super Tails, you have to collect all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds and then all 7 of the Super Emeralds. So unlike Sonic or Knuckles, you don't get a Super Tails. You do get Super Tails. You don't get a Hyper Tails because it requires all 14 of them. But when Tails goes super, goes kind of yellowish, and then he's like orbited by 4 flickies, these little bird guys that come out of the robots that you kill.
Oh, okay.
And they attack stuff all over the screen for you. While you're also
Interesting.
just invincible. But
It's similar to Cheese from Sonic Advance 2.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that. But there's 4 of them, and you don't have to input a button. They just do it automatically.
Yep.
I'm guessing why they did it that way with the Super Emeralds is that they wanted it to line up with the fact that Tails doesn't go super in Sonic 2 if you have all the emeralds.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's, air quotes, too young to utilize the Chaos Emerald's energy.
Yeah. I wish they had brought Hypersonic back in later games.
Yeah.
And additionally, Super Knuckles and Super Tails.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are upset about Heroes. That's just a general statement I agree with. A lot of people are upset with Heroes because at the end, you fight as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles against Mecha Madness, or whatever they call the Metallic Overlord? Metal Sonic in that fight with the giant dragon thing.
Yeah.
And they all go super, but instead of going Super Knuckles or Super Tails, they just have this orb around them, and Sonic is the only one who's got a alternate form.
Oh, that's boring.
Yeah. It's real annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it was the perfect opportunity to do it, and they didn't do it.
Yep.
And since then, like, Iizuka has literally said that he doesn't want Hypersonic in the games anymore. That
Why?
like Hypersonic doesn't exist. The official canon is now that Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles are separate games, and that Hypersonic wasn't actually canon to the classic timeline.
No.
Which,
I
yeah,
don't like that at
most
all.
people are really upset.
It's my favorite 1 foot tall Sega Genesis game to play. You can't take that away from me.
Knock on technology. You invented it for one game. Why would you put it to waste?
Right?
It was already to waste. You could have used more games with lock-on technology, but you
Right.
literally did it for one game.
We'll call it a game and a half because you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 2, but yeah.
You can indeed. If you plug it into Sonic 1, you can play blue spheres that are random.
Yeah. If you plug in any other Sega Genesis cartridge, you can also play blue spheres.
That's true. I think there's something special about Sonic 1's version. I forget what it is.
Yeah, me too. Side note, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is only a foot tall if you're playing it in a 32X like I have.
Yes, your nearly completely assembled tower of power.
Yes.
But yeah, one of the things that Sonic 3 and Knuckles kind of introduced also was each act having its own boss, where like Act 1 you'd have a little mini boss that kind of plays into the flavor of the level, and then Act 2 is where you get your Robotnik / Eggman fight, like traditionally.
Yep. I'm real glad they did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just made Act 1 feel more special, I will say.
Yeah.
Because and like I played through Sonic 2 just this morning because I wanted to kind of refresh myself on that one as well. And yeah, most of the levels in that game, you just blast through Act 1 like it's not even there. Like, what's the point? And it's fun.
Unless it's
fun.
Metropolis.
Yeah, unless it's Metropolis. But yeah.
This
Metropolis exists in its own little space.
Yeah. This is something Becca even picked up on when I was playing through Sonic 3 and Knuckles. She straight up said, it's like, it's really cool how Act 1 and Act 2 of these levels just kind of flow into each other. Because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Another
instead
thing
of
is like
doing
the
a
level
fade out to
transitions.
like there's no
Yeah,
fade
that
out
is a really
and
cool bit.
go to a different level. It's a continuation.
Yeah,
And
there's
they've got
like,
level transitions between zones too, which is
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep. I think my favorite one is the one into Ice Cap Zone. Where you drop
Jumps
down
in a
out, you
cannon.
drop down into the freaking snow, and then you're just snowboarding down this freaking mountain. I love
Oh
it.
yes. Yeah. And you can control Sonic in that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or you can just
that was
pop
really
out of a
cool.
teleporter because you're Knuckles.
Yeah, not as cool.
Not as cool.
Knuckles just doesn't know how to snowboard, so he has to use
Yeah.
Which, speaking of Ice Cap,
I mean, he probably could snowboard if he didn't just get so rudely, abruptly awakened by a freaking bomb while he was taking his nap. He was probably still a little groggy to try to figure out an improvised snowboard solution.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I think Knuckles probably snowboards in Winter Olympics games.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah,
he probably knows how to hoverboard from Sonic Riders.
Right. He could probably snowboard.
He could probably do it.
He just came in through a different route. That's the only reason he didn't snowboard.
Yeah.
He could have done it. But speaking of the snowboard, an interesting thing about this game is that when it was originally planned to be one whole game, they shuffled around some of the zones, and initially Flying Battery from Sonic and Knuckles was right before Ice Cap.
Yeah.
And you would tear a piece of the Flying Battery ship off, and that was going to be your snowboard going through Ice Cap.
Yep. It's almost
But
kind of like
when it
the
was
helicopter sequence at
Flying
the
Battery
beginning
got
of
pushed off.
Sonic and Adventure 2.
Yes, I'm almost positive that's a direct reference to that beta version of Sonic or the you know what I'm talking about, Sonic 3.
Yeah. S3&K.
Prototype is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And I read a little bit into that too. Like Knuckles apparently just wasn't going to play through Flying Battery Zone at all in that level order, which is part of the reason why there's no like alternate Knuckles route in Flying Battery, and your final boss of Flying Battery 2 still has an Eggman sprite instead of the Egg Robo.
Yep. And it also is because Eggman is facing forward in that fight. So if they wanted to do it quick, they couldn't just put Egg Robo's face in there.
Yeah.
They would have had to like make a separate sprite, and they didn't really have time to do that when Knuckles wasn't originally going to go through Flying Battery.
Yep. Which is a shame because Flying Battery, I think, is probably my favorite music in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Especially Act 2 with the ring modulated synth at the beginning of it. It's so good.
This game has a lot of bangers.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get into the music more in depth. Because there are some things regarding the music in a certain pop star that I'm sure if you are familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog at all, you have probably heard something about it over the years.
Yeah. Our resident musician has some grievances.
Not to go into that.
Yeah, we won't get there just yet.
Yep.
I would like to talk about like the music itself of what our favorites are, because I'm curious what your favorites are, because I was making some comments when your playthrough was premiering, Lucas, and I was saying that one of my favorite tracks is Carnival Night, despite knowing that that's probably a pretty hot take. Yeah. But then I was like, I wonder how high up it is. And I was like, well, there's Launch Base is really good. There's Ice Cap, that's really good. There's Flying Battery. I'm like, holy cow, there's so many good tracks.
There's a lot of good tracks.
It's real good. But if you could narrow it down to 3 without thinking too hard about it, what would your guys' favorite tracks be?
I gotta say, probably Final Boss is my top track.
Same here.
For Sonic and Knuckles Final Boss. I mean, not the
big arms.
Not
Doomsday.
Okay. Not Doomsday. Like
It was
No,
also the
not.
final boss in Sonic 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Number 2, probably Flying Battery,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
3, it's kind of between Sandopolis and Ice Cap.
Okay.
I want to say probably Ice Cap takes it.
Ice
Ice
Cap's
Cap
really
would be
good.
my number 2. Lucas, how about you?
Flying Battery Zone, as previously mentioned.
Okay.
Especially Act 2. Because I really love the way the ring modulated synth part sounds versus Act 1's synth. I just really like the way that ring modulator sounds. So yeah. Gotta go, I think, with Big Arms for my number 2 slot. That is one of the best boss themes I've ever heard.
It's very good, and I'm not just biased towards it because I recorded a cover of it for this podcast.
And
which, if you stick around until the end of the episode, you'll get to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get
This
that
is
engagement going on YouTube.
Yep. This
Also,
is feeling
comment your favorite 3 Sonic tracks from Sonic 3.
Yeah. Last one's kind of a hard decision.
Yeah.
It feels really samey to Colin's list almost, because like Sandopolis is really good, Ice Cap's really good. I really like Lava Reef 1. I think I am going to go with Ice Cap Zone, though, mostly because of a behind-the-scenes thing that Neal shared with us.
Yeah.
Really tickled my, like, new wave musical interest side of my brain.
We'll get into that when we get into the pop star related stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So what about you, Neal?
Yeah.
So it's definitely Final Boss, Big Arms, then Endless Mine, or no, Ice Cap, and then Endless Mine.
Yeah.
But like the runners up are just all over the place. I love the Act 1 boss from Sonic 3's version. Sounds really great. Got voice samples and everything. I love Hydrosity. I love Launch Base. I really like Carnival Night. I know, it's weird. I don't know. Just, it sounds so funky. I love it.
Yeah. It does kind of grow.
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned this last night when I was talking to you about it, Neal.
Uh-huh.
The lead synth in that is just really, really abrasive sounding, and it just, it's like, for me listening to it, it's like nails on a chalkboard almost. Like, it's just like, that, and that melody is just like that cliche carnival melody.
Carnival.
I don't like that. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I love the dun 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 dun. That's my favorite part of that song.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And unfortunately for me,
Mystic
like
Cave Zone from Sonic 2 makes better use of that like classic circus melody.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately for me, like Carnival Night Zone was probably the level I got stuck on the longest, so I had to sit there and listen to that song so long. I was like, oh my god.
There's no way we can talk about this game without talking about honestly, the barrel puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, the barrel.
Yeah.
The barrel is so bad, it's referenced in other games that aren't even Sonic. That's how bad the barrel is. Like there's a Lego game. There is a Lego game that literally references the freaking barrels. Like, that's how bad the barrel is.
Well, isn't that Lego Dimensions and it's Sonic's in there?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, when I played Carnival Night, like, I think at one point, Colin, you were telling me that you felt like it was too slow of a level. Is that correct?
I don't know if I would say too slow of a level. I think it's bigger than it needs to be.
Okay. I don't know. That's kind
of my criticism. that's kind of my criticism with a lot of the levels in this game, though. It feels like a lot, especially when
Marble Garden.
yeah, but especially when you have that timer on there. I mean, I think we all played Sonic 3
Yes.
Air for our playthroughs, which allows you to disable lives, disable a timer. Well, except for Lucas. But yeah, but this game, one of my biggest criticisms of this game is just that timer. Like, the game wants to encourage you to blast through these levels as fast as possible, but then like also at the same time it's like, hey, these things are freaking huge, explore them, but don't explore them too much because y'all only got like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and then you get stuck in that barrel for 5 of that 10 minutes.
A lot of the bigger stages, you need an extra life to get through both that, or like 2 extra lives to get through the zone, because you are going to time out at least once.
Yep.
And fortunately, your timer starts at 0, so like then you have plenty of time to finish the rest of the act. But newer versions of this game definitely help with no timer. I prefer lives on. I don't find the running out of lives an issue because I'm pretty good at getting continues. The bonus games are where you get the continues, the stars that go around the checkpoint posts, star posts. You jump in those.
I was really
if you
bad
get 50
at those.
rings in the. I love them all.
I was so bad at those. There was the one. It's like the little swirlies that go around the side, and you just kind of fall through them. I could not get a feel on that bonus game at all. That I just like after a certain point, I stopped bothering with those
swirlies. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
It's like the elephant talk game.
Yeah, the elephant talk game. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe I don't know. I just know there was the one that was kind of like the slot
the one with the orbs
thing. Probably. Right? It's not the one with like the slot machine you bounce around into it and stuff. It's the other one.
And it's well, what about the gumball one? You're not talking about the gumball one.
The gumball one. Oh God, I am confusing myself now.
Probably.
The gumball one is a gumball machine, and you spin it, and shields come out. So you've got to be talking about the orbs because
it must be the orbs.
Probably in the orb. Yeah, that's the elephant talk one.
All I know is that every single time I spawned into that one, I just fell straight to the bottom. Couldn't figure out how to do anything with it.
Okay.
Like I was like mashing the A button, nothing happened. I just kept falling through it. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just not going to do these bonus games.
Yeah, that sounds like the elephant
timing
talk
thing.
One.
Yeah. I should probably explain the elephant talk. I think you're getting it from me, right, Lucas? That I'm referring to it.
Yes, like I've referred to it ever since because I love King Crimson.
So when I had the Mega Collection on GameCube and I was first playing through it was late high school, and I played it at my dad's, and I had just given my dad, what's the name of the album, Lucas? Discipline. Yeah, Discipline. And my dad really loves the song Elephant Talk off of there. And I think it's a guitar effect in that song that sounds like an elephant. Some kind of music sound effect using an instrument. It's like a trick they did to make an elephant sound. And the laser's noise that you fall into to lose in the orb zone sounds like an elephant. And so my dad would hear that and go, "Elephant Talk." And from then on, I referred to it as Elephant Talk based on King Crimson.
Oh my God. That's great.
And also, I've indoctrinated Lucas into this now.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have taken
mostly
much.
Because I'm a diehard King Crimson fan and heard Elephant Talk and is like, all right, that's what this is called forever.
Yep.
So now you too, the listener, will think of this.
Yeah.
When playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shoutouts to King Crimson for just being great.
Back on the subject of the music, though. By the way, I forgot to mention this at the front of the episode, but we're probably going to not mention certain things just because of the nature of conversation and all that. So just if we don't cover a specific thing regarding this game, just know we didn't ignore it. We probably just forgot. Because we are just kind of like bouncing around from topic to topic here.
Yeah. This game's got a lot of cool stuff to talk about.
There's a lot of stuff to take in regarding this game because it is technically 2 games.
Yeah. And that is part of why I think it's the best of the classic trilogy. I know lots of people say Sonic 2, and obviously Colin thinks that.
Hot take number 1. Yes, I do think Sonic 2 is better.
No, that's honestly not a hot take. The fandom of the classics is pretty split on whether Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 is better.
I'll give Sonic 3 this. It is close. It is objectively the better game. Yeah. Like there's more mechanics and stuff. There's a lot more to it that does make it objectively a better game, but there are aspects of it that I really didn't care for in regards to level design that kept Sonic 2 on the top for me. Also, as I was previously trying to transition back into the music, where my real hot take number 1 was going to be Sonic 2's music is better.
I don't know. That's not really a hot take.
Yeah.
Sonic 2 had really good music.
Yes.
Except for
Sonic 2's music is... I liked Hilltop Zone. It had that like really funky, like southern, that little southern rock feel to it with that kind of synth harmonica sounding thing.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It was goofy.
Lucas is fair asleep.
If Hilltop Zone is the worst song on Sonic 2 soundtrack, it's not as bad as the worst song on Sonic 3 soundtrack. So
that could be a lot of fun.
Honestly, for me, the worst soundtrack, honestly, it's the only song I don't really like at all, is Knuckles' theme from specifically Sonic 3.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I don't think I heard that because I was already playing through the Sonic and Knuckles on air, where it just automatically made it the Sonic and Knuckles version, which is a fun song.
Yeah. Air is great, just because of the sheer number of options you can do, and you can set it to either soundtrack, and you can even put Flying Battery in the different order. You can make Ice Cap night if you just want it to be night for whatever reason. But the Knuckles song is just like totally percussion, and I just don't like it.
Yeah, and like,
it doesn't sound like a song to me.
One of the things that really bothered me about the soundtrack in these games, like right from the onset, and like granted, I have come to like it. It's fine, but at the same time, the fact that they didn't have the Sonic the Hedgehog theme as the title theme for these games. Part of the reason for that, the one that they use in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 on the title screen. You know, the ba 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 ba.
Oh yeah.
Like the Sonic theme.
Okay, that's the
I mean,
I just had to listen to it for a split second.
Yeah, like the obviously part of the contributing reason for that is they were unable to get the original Sonic the Hedgehog composer to do the music.
He
for
wanted
this
more
game.
royalties. Because it was obvious.
Sega was cheap, so instead we're gonna hire a pop star. Because that makes sense. But
imagine Michael Jackson being the less expensive alternative.
Right. But like of all the songs for Sega to not hold the rights to, the theme song of their flagship character was one of them. Like, what? Come on. And look, I covered the Sonic and Knuckles theme for the intro of this podcast. I mean, I do like it. It's a good song. But it's not that. It's not the iconic Sonic the Hedgehog song.
Part of it for me is I listened to that version adapted in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, where they gave it lyrics.
Oh,
nice.
Which, not a bad song, honestly. Sonic the Hedgehog, you can't catch what you can't see. Sonic the Hedgehog, he's gonna make Mobius free. That's how it went.
Yeah.
Apologies for my bad singing. wanted to share
I'm less
that.
concerned about the singing, more so the lyrics themselves are a little questionable.
Not great.
But yeah.
It's Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
I liked it because I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's embedded in my brain as well.
I don't really remember that cartoon much. I grew up on the other Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon.
Which other one?
Which is apparently
Yeah.
the bad one. Is that the bad one? I
I
never
don't
knew
know
that was
which
the
one
bad
you're
one.
talking about. There's like 5.
Do you
one
have
with-
any
the one with-
idea how little this sit down?
The one with the chicken and the little tank dude with the drills.
That's Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Is that the one? I don't remember that theme
Yes.
song. I do not remember that theme song.
It's in one episode. It's like part of the plot that this pop star in Mobius in universe is singing a song, and it's using the soundtrack.
Okay.
And then Robotnik has to kidnap her, and he makes this robot who hates music. It's really dumb.
Okay.
Yes, it's very bad.
Yeah. No, I liked that cartoon though. Apparently,
Um,
apparently the other one is like leaps and bounds better, but I don't remember that
yeah.
one.
Sad AM is leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I grew up with Adventures and not
Yeah,
Sad
me
AM.
too. Yep.
And I loved it at the time.
Yeah.
I have a hard time watching
think
it now.
I think it's still on Netflix, and every now and then I'll watch an episode.
Yeah,
It's
I do
fine.
too.
It's fine. I mean, it's early '90s cartoons. I mean, what more do
It's
you
Looney
want?
Tunes
Yeah.
on crack,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's like Looney Tunes without the sophistication. Yeah.
And Eggman's got that weird Patrick Star shaped head.
Yeah, that's actually in Sad AM as well, but
Yeah.
good God, is Sad AM Robotnik different from pretty much any other version?
Yeah.
Except maybe the comics version once Ian Flynn took over.
Snooping as usual, I see.
So should we tackle the pop star in the room?
Yeah.
Sonic, are you okay? Are you okay, Sonic?
So I'm glad you brought that song up, because that's originally how the whole Michael Jackson thing started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people
well,
compared-
here's the funny thing about that also is if I had more time and I thought of the idea sooner, I was going to do a parody of Smooth Criminal, but it was going to be Smooth Echidna.
Okay.
And it would be from the perspective of Sonic beating down, or from the perspective of Knuckles beating down Sonic. Sonic, are you okay? Are you okay, Sonic? Are you okay? Are you okay, Sonic? You've been struck by a smooth echidna. Ow! I apologize to our listeners for
really, really well.
but it works. I know.
I mean,
I just
when we
maybe
first
I'll still
set
do
out
it. I mean,
yeah, like when we first set out to like pick out what music we wanted to do for this, I jokingly said, "Do a cover of Speed Demon from Bad."
I legit considered it too.
That's
It's perfect because it's
section,
like yeah, that was where I listened to it and I was like, oh yeah, maybe not. Like
Yep.
it was really good up until it got to the chorus and I was like, okay, full disclosure here, I'm gonna out myself. I'm not like a super hyper proficient musician. When I heard that the chorus section in Speed Demon, I was like, okay, yeah, this is maybe a little bit outside my skill level here. I'm not gonna overreach with that.
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I get by. You'll hear from the music I did for this. I mean, I do get by. I find a way to make things work generally most of the time. It's a lot easier when you're working with video game music in specific because, like, doing what I do, where you're transitioning it to like a rock or a metal song. I mean, all of the instruments already are synthesized, So I can kind of pick and choose what I make into a guitar or not, and it will still work in the context of that song. So, which is why you'll notice all the super speedy stuff in the songs, I leave them as the synth parts because I am a cheating. I cheat like that, but hey, still sounds good. And if it sounds good, that's important. That's what's important, right? Right?
Yep.
Right?
Right.
You
Right?
know, I just realized I have my
Right.
cassette copy of Bad in here too.
Oh, now I can just see Robotnik singing Bad. And now I'm gonna have nightmares tonight about that.
Maybe Weird Al's version because he's kind of a chungus.
But yeah, so I kind of have a baseline understanding of the whole Michael Jackson thing. All I know is it made trying to pick what songs I wanted to cover for this a complete and total hellscape, and I still didn't manage to completely escape the Michael Jackson influence with one of the songs, but in the end everything came out okay. But so Neal, you're a little bit more well versed in all of this surrounding the music than I am. You want to kind of give us a little bit of a kind of summary or a rundown of this whole shebang here?
Yeah, definitely. This is a pretty deep rabbit hole to go down, so we're not going to fully cover this. We'll link in the description to some really deep dives. But it basically started when people noticed in the fandom on forums. This was old enough to be forums.
The good old forum days of the early 2000s.
Oh yeah. But somebody mentioned that Carnival Night was very similar to the Michael Jackson song "Jam," and even that the, the sample of Heavy D the rapper saying "Jam" in that song sounded very similar to the like glass shatter sound effect that happens in Carnival Night. And later on in this process, people actually confirmed it. They digitized that sample and it sounds exactly the same. So it is indeed the same sample. Ice Cap was kind of a interesting story because initially it was compared to both Who Is It and Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. And there are definitely chords that are similar. And pretty much this is the main thing with these things is people are like, hey, these chords are similar. Is there a connection? So like all of these songs have similar chords. We'll get into Ice Cap more. That has really similar chords.
Ice Cap is a completely different animal all on its own.
Yeah, but initially it was one of the things that sparked interest in it because
Yeah.
it was so similar to Who Is It and Smooth Criminal. People also noticed that the credits in Stranger in Moscow also noticed that the credits in Sonic 3 specifically and Stranger in Moscow sound really similar, especially the percussion. And all of these things were basically confirmed by one of the people who worked on the soundtrack, Brad Buxer, in an interview. He said that Michael Jackson was brought onto the team to do the soundtrack. It kind of basically fell in their lap. They're already composing a soundtrack, which when a Sonic 3 prototype was released, you found a lot more of those songs. But Sega wanted to distance themselves from Michael Jackson halfway through the process because of some of Michael Jackson's controversies that were starting at that time.
Yeah.
And also, Michael Jackson wanted to distance himself from the Sega Genesis sound chip because he didn't think it was sounding good enough that he wanted his name on it. So he didn't want to be credited. And Sega also had this issue with the controversies. So it just sort of naturally happened where they both split off. Initially, that felt like two conflicting stories, but in the Brad Buxer interview, it became obvious that they both happened at the same time and that they did meld. So yeah, Sonic, the Carnival Night song and Stranger in Moscow were pretty much confirmed.
Carnival
That
Night.
Yeah, but yeah, Carnival Night has similar chords, so those two were confirmed. What's an interesting story is Ice Cap because the fan base was totally off on this one. That actually involved more Brad Buxer, which I'm going to leave this over to Lucas to talk about Hard Times.
Really quick though, I would like to interject in here that it is worth noting that Brad Buxer is a known collaborator with Michael Jackson and has worked with Michael Jackson on several songs throughout his career, including the Stranger in
Very
Moscow
true.
thing. But he's not just
Yes.
a guy that was working on the soundtrack. He was working
Oh,
personally with
yes.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
And a
I
lot
bel
of the people credited on Sonic 3's soundtrack were also
Yes.
involved.
yeah. If
Yes.
if memory served, Brad Buxer was his touring keyboardist for both the Bad tour, but then also for
Yep.
the Dangerous album recording sessions.
Yep. That is correct.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lucas, tell us about Hard Times.
Hard times,
And
the
not the ones
happiest
we're
days
living
of
in
my
right
life.
now.
Hard times
Yes.
gone by. So Ice Cap Zone, as Neal implied, the fan base was completely off. Was not a Michael Jackson track. It was, in a way, more of a Brad Buxer track because it was inspired by a unreleased track called Hard Times by the new wave band The Jetsons, which is unlike the Hanna-Barbera cartoon spelt with a Z instead of an S. So, if you listen to the chorus mainly from Hard Times, it is almost a carbon copy of, or rather, if you listen to Ice Cap Zone, it is a carbon copy of the chorus section from Hard Times.
Yep. It's literally the same song.
Yep, it is.
If you match them together, they sound exactly the same.
It is a almost 1-to-1 perfect match. So Brad Buxer, even without Michael Jackson's involvement in Sonic 3's soundtrack, was very involved with Sonic 3's soundtrack.
Yep. Here's the thing that makes this a lot more complicated. Brad Buxer did not write Hard Times, and he didn't technically have the rights to use that song in Sonic 3. And this was not the only track that this kind of happened with.
Yeah.
As the fan base discovered this and more and more people were contacted and asked questions, lawsuits started happening. And it's become a huge mess, which is why Sonic 3 and Knuckles haven't been on compilations starting with the PS4 era. There's a lot of, like, most modern consoles right now do not have Sonic 3 and Knuckles except for Origins. And part of why Origins is so important, so besides the whole stealth and Taxman thing, part of the reason it's so important is that Sonic 3 and Knuckles is releasing on modern consoles for the first time in a long time. And one of the big problems that people have with it is that the music sounds different on certain tracks. And also, they didn't do a very good job of porting that music into the game.
Yeah.
But that is why that music is different, is because they had to settle a bunch of lawsuits, and to do that, they just removed Michael Jackson's influence from the game completely, and the Hard Times song. And that's very unfortunate because a lot of people don't like these new songs nearly as much. This was also further telegraphed back in the day when the Sonic and Knuckles PC game came out. All of those tracks were changed to the alternate versions that are in Origins, and I'm pretty sure they just straight up made copies of those. I don't know. They said Jun Sano kind of adapted them, but honestly, they sound pretty similar. But those were actually from the prototype of Sonic 3, which was released a while back, a couple of years, last year? I don't know.
It was pretty recent.
It was very recent. But that was back when it was a different team. And Sonic and Knuckles also, they dropped Michael Jackson after that and had a completely different sound team, which is why Colin was saying that this is such a hard song to get licenses for and find the right composer.
Yeah.
But as you can see, this is a fairly complex topic, and it's very interesting to go into.
Some hard times.
Colin, you were saying you have a recommendation for a
Yeah.
video to watch about this?
Yeah, so there's a YouTube channel called The D-Pad. They released a few years ago now, I think. Let's see, when was this? Yeah, back in
26.
2016. So this video is a little bit out of date. There are some things that have come to light in the years since regarding the music, but it's still a very, very good and accurate documentation of the history of Michael Jackson and his involvement with this game. The video is called A Brief History of Michael Jackson's Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And yeah, I mean, this guy, he went way down the rabbit hole with forum posts,
Hmm.
talking to people that actually did contribute to the soundtrack.
Yes.
Specifically, C. Shirako Jones in particular. He had a pretty good conversation with him back in the day about it. So
Yep.
definitely,
This is, to clarify, this is a guy who helped discover the Michael Jackson link to Sonic 3 back in the day.
yes.
He was in the Sonic fandom at that
Yep.
time.
Yep. So we'll link to this video in the show notes so you guys can check it out. But yeah, it was definitely interesting, and it does highlight in ways that we can't really do here on the podcast, like just because of licensing issues and all that. It does highlight a lot of the similarities between all these tracks we're talking about to Michael Jackson songs. It does like a literal side-by-side comparison of the Ice Cap Zone and Hard Times by the Jetsons, so you can hear it. It's really cool, and I definitely recommend checking it out.
I also recommend buying Hard Times, because Hard Times is actually a pretty good song.
It really
yeah.
is. After
need to
Neal
listen to the
pointed
rest of
this
the
out
album.
for the first time, I checked out the one album that the Jetsons released before they broke up, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to check that out too, because it's pretty good. I love Hard
Yeah.
Times.
So
Uh,
before we transition off of the whole Michael Jackson topic, we actually got some like breaking news on the subject just this past week on Sonic's birthday, which was 3 days ago on the day of recording. So happy birthday, Sonic! 31 years old on June 23rd of this year.
expect back pains now.
Yeah.
Expect back pains now. And knees. It's probably going to be his knees more than anything. 'cause all that
Yeah, that's
running.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, my
I don't know. Maybe
knees!
he's in really good shape from all that running, actually. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, so on Sonic's birthday, Yuji Naka, who is the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, accidentally, I guess, confirmed that yes, 100% Michael Jackson did contribute to the soundtrack for Sonic 3. I guess Sega official on TikTok posted a little video of Sonic dancing to, I think it was Smooth Criminal. I think so. Anyway, they posted a video of Sonic dancing to a Michael Jackson song, and Yuji Naka retweeted it, and he says, "Happy 31st birthday, Sonic. A Sega official is playing Michael Jackson's song on Sonic. I'm surprised. Is it a sign?" He asks all coy-like. It's like, huh. And then later on, he tweets out, "Does Sonic Origins Sonic 3 have a different song?" It's like, oh my god, the music for Sonic 3 has changed. Yeah, so he just kind of accidentally just spilled the beans and said the quiet part out loud, and so there we have it.
Everybody pretty much knew at this point, but the fact that it's Yuji Naka is like, oh, okay.
Yep.
That coffin was pretty nailed down.
Yeah.
It's got that final nail in it.
Yep.
I mean, he did try and walk it back a little bit and be like, wait, what? No, I didn't mean that, but no.
Yeah,
he did.
Sonic's dad said so.
Yeah. So there it is, straight from the man himself. The only person that could probably more credibly confirm this would be Michael Jackson himself, and obviously we can't have that. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's ways to bring back people from the dead, right?
I don't think we want to get into necromancy on this podcast quite yet.
Lucas, why not?
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, we Neal mentioned that Sonic Origins is like the first time Sonic 3 has been re-released in a very, very long time. And I was just kind of scrolling through some of the older like Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles re-releases and stuff. And did you guys know that back in the day there was for PC a Sonic and Garfield pack?
Whoa.
Yes.
Huh.
So this is just on the Sonic fandom wiki. I found this scrolling around. The Sonic and Garfield pack is a compilation game for Microsoft Windows released in 1999 for the US and Taiwan. Includes a Sonic compilation title alongside 2 additional Mega Drive games, one of which stars comic and cartoon icon Garfield.
Huh.
So yeah, so it includes Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, which then are able to combine to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And then it has Garfield Caught in the Act and Baku Baku, whatever that is. That is a strange looking game. It's kind of like a
Is
little
that
it's kind of like a
is that a Sonic game?
no, it's kind of like one of those
Okay.
weird puzzle games where it's kind of like, you know, like with like Tetris style puzzle games where things kind of drop down from the top and you had to make spaces for them, and
Yeah.
it's
Kind of like a weird
like one of those.
columns type game.
Yeah, that's probably a better description for it, but
Oh, I'm thinking Waku Waku, but Sonic Patrol car. That's
but yeah, I just saw this scrolling through. It was like Sonic and Garfield. What?
Well,
huh.
Weird flex, but okay.
Weirdly, it's not even like a direct translation of Garfield Caught in the Act, because the Genesis game was Garfield TV Land and it had a different level order.
Huh.
It's
weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. I want to say it's thanks to LGR that I know that.
Makes sense.
Well, we were talking about Origins. Do we want to get into Origins?
Yeah. Neal, you out of all of us, you bought Origins.
I did.
So let's hear your thoughts on it after playing it for the last few days.
I made a mistake.
Oh
no! Okay, so the mistake isn't that I bought Sonic Origins.
Okay.
The mistake is I bought Sonic Origins on the Switch. There's a lot more bugs on the Switch version than apparently the PS5 and Steam version. But apparently they all have bugs. Now, I have not played all of the Sonic 1 and 2. I just focused on playing through Sonic 3 as much as I could, because obviously we're recording a podcast about it.
Yeah.
I am curious about Sonic 1 and 2 because it's based on the Retro Engine versions of these games, which initially were only on phones, which is another reason these games are great. Sonic CD was out for everything, but they've compiled all 3 of the Retro Engine games that Christian Whitehead Christian Whitehead is Taxman, Stealth is Simon Tomley. They collaborated. They're the people behind Mania. They're great. Yes. However, they didn't fully create this compilation. The only work that Simon Tomley did, other than what he worked on with the versions that he previously made with Christopher Whitehead, was the Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And all of these were adapted to put into the compilation. Generally, people's reaction to the game online, especially critics, is this is a really good version of the game. But I am enough of a purist that I'm seeing a lot of things that shouldn't be there. Just to name a few things, I don't know how much of this is the Nintendo Switch and how much of this is the port itself, but there was in Marble Garden when the land moves and rocks fall from the sky as a nice animation. One of those happened and the rocks just kept falling from the sky. They did not stop.
Oh no.
They eventually stopped because I went into a bonus stage and reset. But it was about 1 minute of rocks falling while no land was moving and the screen was not shaking. Another bug was in Hydrocity Zone. I was running along the water and I braked, which I didn't brake hard enough to fall into the water, but it's displayed the braking pose and just stuck with that going across the water for about 2 seconds.
So it looked like Sonic was water skiing.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Those are the main two. There are a few others that were kind of just weird, noticeable things. But there is a list on Sonic Retro of on their forum side of a bunch of people just compiling bugs in Sonic Origins. Tails AI apparently is messed up. I noticed that a little bit. Uh, he does not necessarily follow you the way he does in the original, and that's really upsetting because the thing about the Sonic Retro Engine games, I played both 1 and 2 and CD all on my phone back in the day. It was an iPod, but same difference. And they nailed the physics, and those were perfect reproductions, except they were built from the ground up, so they had widescreen. And Sonic classic games having widescreen is a game changer. It makes them so much easier. And the fact that these retro engine based games that Sonic teams, one of Sonic's team's development team adapted, are not perfect recreations is kind of upsetting because they were perfect recreations on the phones and Sonic CD on all platforms.
Yeah.
So I should not be going, hey, this doesn't feel right, which was my initial reaction to Angel Island Zone when I first popped the game in. Another thing that bugs me, we mentioned Sonic Air back in the day. We mentioned Sonic Air
back in the day, half an hour ago.
Yeah. This has been a long podcast. I'm multiple hours old now. We mentioned Sonic Air, which was the previous way to play Sonic 3 legally with widescreen mode. It's like a mod of the Sonic 3 Steam game, which is no longer on Steam. If you have it downloaded, you can do it, but you can't purchase it anymore because they took it down for Sonic Origins, which we mentioned in previous podcasts.
Yeah.
But Sonic Air had a significant amount of customization. You could play with the Sonic 3 layouts. You could play with the Sonic and Knuckles layouts. To clarify what I mean by that, when you pop Sonic 3 into the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, it actually changes some of the level design of Sonic and Sonic 3's levels to clean up some of the rough patches. The most notable example is Hydrosity, which in the wall chasing you segment at the beginning of Act 2, it's way harder in the Sonic 3 version. There's spikes there that like catch you in Sonic and Knuckles, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles, to make it so that you don't fall back into the wall and are more likely to get crushed. They just had some harder level design, and they probably took feedback and were like, okay, let's fix some of this because we have the chance to. But Sonic Air has options to switch between the two. Sonic Origins does not. And I would be okay with that, except they use the Sonic 3 harder layouts.
Yeah.
So when I got to Hydrosity and I had to deal with hard mode Act 2, I was like, okay, I'm done with this game for the night. I will come back tomorrow. Also, there was some weird collision going on in Angel Island when I first played it. I haven't had any issues like that before. I heard there was a patch that happened day one, so I had a pre-order copy of it, so I got it pretty immediately. So I don't know if they fixed some of that, but still should not have been in the game. There should not be collision detection issues in a retro engine game.
Yeah.
So that being said, there's a lot of cool stuff in this game.
That's good.
The presentation is amazing. The main menu is fantastic. It's fun to interact with it. There's a bunch of unlockables. It reminds me of Mega Collection in some ways of how big the gallery was, and Generations as well. You can unlock music tracks and listen to them on the menu screens. They did 3D renditions of all the islands that you play on in the various classic Sonic games. It really looks really nice, and I think honestly, if they patch a lot of stuff out like they did with Sonic Colors, this could be definitely the definitive way to play Sonic Origins. But if you're on Switch, I want to say that right now it is not. I would try to somehow get a hold of Air. Hopefully, you have it on your PC already. If you have the Steam version, that's a good thing. But yeah, so
Yeah,
those are my
so
thoughts.
Stealth, one of the top developers there at Headcanon that worked on this game, tweeted out a pretty long thread about their lack of satisfaction with the quality of the final release. It did kind of make a little bit of news this past week. Basically, they say, this is frustrating. I won't lie and say that there weren't issues in what we gave Sega, but what is in Origins is also not what we turned in. Integration introduced some wild bugs that conventional logic would have one believe were our responsibility. A lot of them aren't. So, regarding Origins, we were outsiders creating a separate project that was then wrangled into something entirely different. We knew going in that there would be a major time crunch, and we worked ourselves into the ground to meet it just so this would even be made and released. Again, I can take responsibility for my and my team's mistakes, and there were some actual mistakes, some overlooking, some rush jobs, some stuff we noticed but weren't allowed to correct near the end. It's absolutely not perfect, and some of it is from us. It's complicated. I'm extremely proud of my team for their performance under such pressure, but every one of us is very unhappy about the state of Origins and even the Sonic 3 component. We weren't too thrilled about its pre submission state either, but a lot was beyond our control. So, and then they go on to say, I hear you. Headcanon hears you. We wanted this to be right then and now. There's so much that you'll never know or understand within the realm of this kind of work. But know and understand this. We try our best to our own detriment, and we care about our work and about Sonic. So, I I did skip a couple of the tweet threads there because it's literally like 9 or 10 tweets in this thread. It's a good long chunk. But I mean, typical Sega rush jobs regarding Sonic 3. The original game was rushed too.
Yep.
But I mean, this is just unfortunate because I mean, anyone that's played the 1 and 2 mobile ports, anyone that's played Sonic Mania knows that this team gets Sonic and that they love it
Yes.
and they pour everything they have into it. So to hear them be unsatisfied with the final release of this is a little bit sad. I'm really hoping that Sega does commit to a physical release for this game and does commit to allowing them the time to fix it with patches and stuff in the next couple months as well, because they deserve to be able to finish this product with their vision that they intend for it.
And I do have an interesting point here because, like I said, this game so far has been showered in praise, um, and especially critical praise. People are like, "This is the best way to play Sonic. Sonic has never felt this good since, except maybe Mania." On Metacritic, right now, Sonic Origins has dethroned Sonic Mega Collection as the best Sonic collection. Sonic Origins on the PS5 has 79. On the Mega Collection has a 75. But I have to wonder if this is going to be a case of Sonic 4 Episode 1, where Sonic 4 Episode 1 is one of the more highly rated Sonic 4 games critically. It's got a 72 at the moment on Metacritic. But if you hear anything about Sonic 4 these days, you know that it's a terrible game, which I would say not exactly. but I'm worried that this might have if they don't fix this might have a Sonic 4 effect of like people say it's great, and then once people play it more, they go, "Oh, this isn't great," and it's another anomaly in history like Sonic 4.
Yeah.
And I think what you said, Colin, about giving stealth time to fix these problems and not just saying, "Oh, well, the critics love it, so we don't need to put any more money into this."
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, they want to do the work. We know they're capable of it. Sega should just let
right,
them do it because yeah,
right,
I do want to be able to pick this up a year or two from now, maybe, when it gets a physical release, and just have the definitive way to play all these games.
right. Yeah.
But until then, Sonic 3 Air is how I'm going to play Sonic 3.
Yes, definitely. Definitely better than this
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
I need to play Sonic 1 and
Yeah.
2 to see how much they kept in from the mobile ports, because there were some cool things. They had Knuckles routes in Sonic 1. I don't know about Sonic 2 because I didn't unlock Knuckles in there. But
I wonder how the drop dash is going to affect Sonic 1. Because back when they first introduced the spin
I don't
dash
know.
to it in one of the later releases, I mean, that transformed the way you play the game right there.
Yep. Yeah, and all three of them have, or well, all four of them have the drop dash. So that's a cool thing. I never got into the drop dash in Mania, but I hear it's great. I guess I need to get better at it in Mania.
Oh boy, but what else haven't we talked about here? I mean, there's plenty that we haven't talked about, but I know. What's your guys' favorite level? Let's go with that.
Ooh. Okay.
You have one level from Sonic 3 and Knuckles all the way through. Which one's the one that you enjoy to go back and play the most? I bet it's not Marble Zone.
That's a Sonic 1 level. Of course it's not. You mean
Oh,
Marble Garden.
yeah. What was it?
Marble
What?
Garden.
I'm dumb.
Marble
Yeah.
Garden and Marble Zone
Yeah.
are both Sonic
It
levels.
had marble in it. It had marble in it.
Yeah, kind of confusing.
I was
I don't think
halfway
there's
there.
anything else like that. Yeah. I think the only confusing level trope is Emerald Hill versus Green Hill, but that's
Yeah.
not as bad.
They're both hills.
Yeah, and greenish colored hills.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
I don't
yeah, go
know
first.
either. I'm taking time too, but I am also looking at this. I wouldn't say it's Ice Cap. Ice Cap is just over too fast for me.
I got stuck in that loop on Ice Cap for like 5 minutes.
I mean, when I was playing Origins, I did the same thing, but that's because I set down my Switch for a while.
It took me a solid minute and a half to just realize that it was looping. And then the rest of it was just me getting frustrated trying to break the loop and then messing up and falling back into it.
Well, that's the kind of thing where I played Sonic 1 first, and there's a loop like that, pretty much identical in Labyrinth Zone.
Oh.
And there's similar things in Sonic 2 where they screen wrap, and it's just kind of a trope in Sonic that things like that happen, and I'm used to it, and it's just intuitive to me. I want to say Flying Battery, honestly.
Yeah. Flying Battery's pretty
Flying
good.
Battery's cool. Got a lot of neat mechanics in it, like the propellers.
It's either Flying Battery or Launch Base for me. I really like Launch Base. There's a lot of cool mechanics going on in there. I think Launch Base takes it just because the Knuckles levels are different from the Sonic levels in Launch Base. Also, I love that tune.
Yes, it's got one good song in there. What about you, Lucas?
I guess it kind of depends on if it's a Sonic or a Knuckles level.
It is fair. I guess they do differ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, tell us both.
I'm kind of nostalgic for the Knuckles Mushroom Hill Zone. It's because that actually was my first experience playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or in this case, rather just Sonic and Knuckles. It's kind of an interesting story. So, over in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, there's the Soaring Eagle Casino, and they have this little like kids zone called Kids Quest, and they had like a jungle gym, bunch of arcade type games, bunch of game consoles set up, and like one of those consoles was a Sega Genesis set up with Sonic and Knuckles. So that was my first experience with a Sonic game, if I remember correctly. It was either that or it was Sonic 1 on the Sega 6-pack cart on my cousin's Genesis. But yeah, I just remember playing Mushroom Hill Zone with Knuckles and like as one of my very first Sonic experiences. And yeah,
that's interesting. Because
that reminds me of like McDonald's back in the day when they had like Nintendo 64s hooked up for a very brief moment in history.
Yeah, it was.
I remember playing. I remember playing Mario 64 in the local McDonald's.
It's interesting that Mushroom Hill was the first level you played, just because Mushroom Hill is very much an outlier in the first levels of Sonic games.
Yeah.
Because it's technically not a first level.
Yeah.
And it plays very differently from Green Hill or Emerald Hill. It's not a
very much so,
zip through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that might be my favorite Knuckles level, because I picked Knuckles because I thought Knuckles was cool.
Knuckles is cool.
He's very cool. I think on the Sonic side of things, though, I think my favorite Sonic level might be... I kind of want to say Ice Cap Zone, because I actually thought the level wrapping was really cool, and yeah, I did really enjoy Ice Cap Zone for both Knuckles and Sonic. In some ways, like in those more vertical oriented levels like Marble Garden and Ice Cap Zone, Knuckles kind of cheapened it because of the ability to climb up walls.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, I mean, it kind of took away some of the challenge of the Sonic version of the levels.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Knuckles have a little bit of a disadvantage compared to Sonic and certain other ones as well, so it kind of balances out.
Yeah, that's
true. Knuckles can't jump as high.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it balances out.
Lower jump height, but at the upside of you can climb up most walls. If the wall is a sprite,
and he believes he can fly.
And he can glide. Yep. And
yeah.
Quick note for anyone who...
That's not flying, that's falling with style.
I was about to make that reference too.
Yeah. Quick note to anyone who's trying out Knuckles, coming off of playing as Sonic in a game.
Oh, like me, who just started playing as Knuckles like right before we started recording.
Yeah. You can't play it like it's an Atari game, kind of like you can with Sonic, where you just use the one button the entire time. In order to like maintain a good vertical height when you start gliding, you really need to press a second button to glide instead of pressing and releasing. Otherwise, you will drop down maybe like one sprite's height before you start gliding, and that makes a lot of the glides much more difficult.
Also, a trick with these, relating to more than one button, a trick with just Sonic 2 and 3 in general,
the
spin dash.
Charge. Yeah.
Spin charge.
Yep.
Yeah. Just going over the face buttons with your thumb.
Yep.
So nice. Just instantaneous. Yeah, exactly.
Get real fancy and do like 3 fingers, like one on each button.
No, just like running your thumb across them.
Yeah.
Like moving your thumb so that you're pressing all 3.
Yep.
That's actually a speedrunner trick that I learned from what is it called? The live stream. Good games done quick. Good games done quick.
Yeah. Some sort of games done quick stream.
Yeah.
Awesome game. Summer games.
Ah,
Who knows?
one of those.
Yeah.
As far as my favorite level goes, I will elaborate on this in a second, but like I said at some point earlier in this podcast, God, how long has it been now? I don't know, but I said earlier I think Sonic 2 is better. So a lot of these levels didn't really stand out to me as much as a Sonic 2 level would, but I think Angel Island Zone is the least offensive, I would say. It's just a straightforward, you kind of do your little zippy zip thing through the level. It feels the most like a Sonic level to me. As far as my favorite level goes, I think I probably settled on Sandopolis.
Really?
Mainly because I also covered the Sandopolis song, which will not be in this podcast, but you can check it out later on my YouTube channel where it'll be posted. Anyway, I like the little grappling down the sides of the walls that you do in Act 1. And Act 2 legit gives me anxiety with those freaking ghosts, but I love it. Like, those are the Boo ghosts from Mario, but like on steroids. I never actually got hurt by them, but there were a couple times where I almost didn't get the light switch flicked on in time, and they would start to get really grumpy.
Yeah.
Oh man, that entire time I was going through that level, I was like, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh. But it was fun. Sandopolis was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like the music for Sandopolis is pretty sweet. I think I mentioned that was also one of my favorite songs in the game too. So yeah, but I think a lot of my criticism for the level design in this game, as opposed to Sonic 2, and I literally played through like 90% of Sonic 2 this morning to kind of reaffirm this. A lot of the level design in this seems like counterintuitive to like the go fast nature of Sonic. There's a lot of enemy placement that's like just off screen, where they did this a little bit in Sonic 2, but here it's like every single level, every time you try to get a good momentum going, there's an enemy right off screen. You don't see it in time. You lose all your momentum, or there's like a rock or something there that you get stuck on. And the level designs played a lot more into gimmicks than just playing off of Sonic's gimmick, which is going fast.
Yeah.
Like, especially the first three episodes the first three zones in Sonic 2 especially, you just blast through those. You blast through Emerald Hill, you blast through Chemical Plant. Chemical Plant is one of the best Sonic levels ever designed. It's so fun, and the music was my ringtone for a very long period of time because it's very good.
And confirm.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of these levels, they just kind of lacked that for me. And like I mentioned before with the timer thing, they want to try and encourage you to explore these levels, but in the original version of the game where you couldn't just turn off the timer, I mean, they don't give you the time to do that a lot of the time. So there's a lot of like push-pull with the design of these levels that didn't really vibe with me that much, and kinda put me on tilt a couple of times when I was playing through this, I will not lie.
This is one of those games that's a lot more. You have to get really good at Sonic games to go fast.
And I will admit, like, I up until now, I mean, really the only Sonic game I really played to any extent was Sonic 2, and that was when I was a kid. I mean,
you will not like Sonic 1.
Yeah. I hear Labyrinth Zone is pretty bad.
Yeah, there's shortcuts in Labyrinth Zone that make it a lot easier, but your issue of enemies hitting you from out of nowhere is way worse in Sonic 1.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, like Sonic 2 does do that at points too, but like
Yes,
not.
Sonic 2 was at the point
Yeah,
where it was
but
like we
I
figured
think
it
they
out.
balanced it really well, where you could still get that feeling of you're flying through these levels, and they don't just like okay, as soon as you get up to speed, now you got a freaking enemy sitting right there waiting to stop you in your tracks. I
Uh,
also I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic's platforming. His
really?
comparing it to like like Mario's jumping and stuff. Sonic's jumping is just ever so slightly different that it doesn't feel as precise for platforming. It's not like a Samus jump like we talked about in our last
I
that
was
one
gonna
game.
say
It's not like that, but it's not quite as it's still not quite as tight as like a dedicated platformer like a Mario game would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I've just grown up with Sonic and
Yeah,
I'm used to that physics
right.
over Mario.
Yeah,
Uh,
like
the,
I think Sonic does. I think I think one of the things like Sonic doesn't like fall down off of his jump quite as quickly as because Mario is like jump up, come straight down. Like he just jumps up and comes straight down. Like it's a very easy to learn kind of arch to it, or well,
yeah,
not even an arch really, but just like the timing of his jump is really easy to get a feel for. I mean, obviously with you, you've grown up with Sonic, so you're more used to Sonic, but going
right.
from like being used to Mario physics into Sonic physics, and like it does take a little bit longer for Sonic to land off of a jump than other platformers and stuff. But he doesn't
Yeah,
float around like Samus.
right.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Super Metroid's jumping.
No,
Yo.
just the wall jumping. No, let's not open that can of worms again. That one game, Super Metroid Part 2,
Yes.
where we only talk about the jumping.
It's just an hour of us talking about jumping.
An hour of
in
us talking about
Metroid.
jumping.
An hour of me saying it's
Oh.
not nearly as bad as you guys are making it out to, and then you guys telling me otherwise.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
As
yeah.
I mentioned, I love Super
Metroid. I would recommend with this game, give it repeat playthroughs because it
Yes,
gets better
absolutely.
as
Yep.
you go through.
Yes.
And honestly, I think the live system is pretty integral to the Sonic games. I honestly think that the save menu in Sonic and Knuckles isn't as great as you think it is. Like, it's good because the game is so long, but part of like playing Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 on a Genesis was when you ran out of lives, you had to go back through the entire game. And doing that, you
It's
get
practice and
better at the
repetition.
mechanics. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It's very
And
get
by
good
your
or die
fifth
trying.
playthrough, you're blazing through
Yeah.
tons of stages.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when I ran through Sonic 2 this morning, I mean, I blasted all the way through until I got to Metropolis.
Right.
And then of course Metropolis is Metropolis.
Yeah.
So
Favorite
that's what
stage in the game for me.
that is where that session ended for me because I ran out of lives and continues. But at that point, I was just playing it to see if I was correct in thinking how I was thinking and the differences in the level design. So that was the only reason I was playing it. So I still saw most of the game to be able to kind
Oh
of
yeah. Yeah. You
speak
don't
on
need to play
that.
Wing Fortress and you don't need to play
Yeah.
Death Egg Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even felt like by the first 3 levels, I already kind of had the feeling for it. It's like, yeah, those are much more built around the speed gimmick than level specific platforming gimmicks.
Yeah.
I will say
Well,
though, in Hilltop Zone, I love the little seesaws with the little angry red balls. Those are fun.
Those are in Starlight Zone in Sonic 1 initially.
Yeah.
Nice. They're so angry. Why are they so angry?
I don't think they're angry. They're spike balls in Sonic 1, but it's the same design.
Yeah.
Right. Whew. Well, do we have anything else we want to touch on before we move on? I mean, there is a ton of stuff to touch on, obviously, but it's like, what?
what do you think of the differences between Sonic Sprite and Sonic 3
Oh, the
and
sprites?
Sonic Sprite? Yeah, because Sonic's design is different.
Yeah. Uh, uh, I don't mind it in Sonic 3. I think it looks fine. I do I do like the Sonic 2 sprite better, just because again, I am the Sonic 2 guy of this podcast. but no, I like the progression though. I forget who mentioned it this way, but you can see there's like a progression in Sonic's, like he's aging throughout the series through each respective entry. He
Yeah,
kind of
he
looks a
is
little
actually
he
taller.
looks yeah, he looks a little bit older through each respective entry in the series. And I like that.
He looks a little bit what? I think you cut it out for me.
Oh, older.
Older. Okay.
Yeah, even though technically these games are supposed to take place like back to back to back,
Yeah, like
story wise.
Sonic. Yeah, Sonic CD is in there somewhere. I need to
Yeah.
play Origins for the animations too. So I'm curious how that plays out. But Sonic 1 or no, Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 just like there's no time in between the two. They are
Yeah.
literally right
Yeah,
after
literally
the
back to
ending
back.
of
Yep.
yeah. I think Mania's sprites look the best, but they're also 32 bits, so
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess let's touch on Doomsday Zone for a minute, because that is the you have to collect all the Chaos Emeralds in order to get the true ending for the game,
yep.
which transitions instead of just after the battle with Big Arms at the end of Sonic and Knuckles, instead of just falling down out of the sky and being caught by Tails, Sonic actually transforms into Hypersonic and goes chasing down Robotnik
Or super
because
You can
he
do it as
Sonic.
ain't
Supersonic.
letting them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it as
Supersonic?
Supersonic too.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, either or.
Yeah,
Get the medium ending.
obviously I didn't get all the emeralds, so I just watched the gameplay clip of this, and he was in hypersonic form. But yeah, so he goes chasing down Robotnik because he ain't gonna let him get away this time, and it kind of turns into like a side-scrolling type like space shooter in a way, but without the shooting, because obviously Sonic doesn't shoot stuff. But it's
Yeah.
that kind of general feel. You're flying up and down on the screen as the screen is panning horizontally, avoiding rocks and picking up rings to keep your supersonic active. Because
Yep.
when you are in supersonic form, you are constantly being depleted of rings, and when you run out of rings, you lose supersonic.
Yep.
But yeah, Lucas, you played this to completion, so give us a better rundown than what I can kind of relay off of just watching the stupid thing.
So this was also my first time playing through Sonic 3 and Knuckles, collecting all of the all of the emeralds.
All of the
So
rings. Hey, Sonic 3 and Knuckles
Good
collecting
luck.
all of the rings.
all of the rings.
Okay, completionist.
That would be hell.
Yeah.
That would be pure torture.
No,
For
I
those
don't think.
interested, there are a couple of tool-assisted speedruns on taskvideos.org of Knuckles ring attack Sonic 3.
Oh my.
But it does very much control like a horizontal space shooter in the vein of like Gradius or R-Type, or if you're into the more obscure horizontal shoot 'em ups like Biometal or the Nova level in Kirby's Superstar. Anyone who's played through Milky Way Wishes should know what I'm talking about. But God, that was so stressful to play through, especially not knowing what I was getting into because it was my first time reaching Doomsday Zone.
Yeah.
Like after the first phase up against Robotnik, I wasn't quite sure what I needed to do, and that was apparently catch up to Robotnik and hit him more times. But I also only had like 10 rings, so I was like, panic, collect rings, don't die, don't die.
Right. Yeah, I kind of saw that when I was watching through. I was like, getting a little low on rings there, buddy. I think at one point you're down to like 15.
Yeah. That was incredibly stressful.
I mean, it is a secret ending final boss, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about
I
incredibly stressful. Let's back up a second and go to the fight that precedes this. Because all right, so if you watched the video I uploaded for my Lower Norfair cover from the last episode to my YouTube channel, I like to, for these songs, go and just get gameplay that is relevant to where that song would appear in the game to use as the video backdrop for those videos when I post them to my YouTube. So, one of the songs I covered was that final boss battle theme against the Big Arms robot. And yeah, my first time through that, it took me about 45 minutes to beat that boss on my first run through.
yeah.
For reference, this is a fight that is over in under 2 minutes if you succeed.
Yep.
When I went back to capture footage, and again, you had to do this with if you die in your leading up into it through the final level when you still have rings. If you die and have to reset at the beginning of the fight, you reset with no rings. So you have to be absolutely perfect in your execution, cannot take a single hit, or you're back to the start of this fight again. That said, when I went back to record footage for my YouTube video that I'm going to be uploading for this, that took me 20 minutes on just that fight over and over again. It was awful.
That is
Oh man, like
20 minutes for
and
a
Neal and I were
2-minute fight
testing
is
out our
about...
new yeah,
Yep.
that is exactly what it sounds like. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and Neal and I were on voice chat testing out our new recording stuff while I was playing through that. So luckily it kept me from getting super heated over it, because the first time I got really upset. But I kept going until I beat it because I was right at the end of the game.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, 20 minutes for a 2-minute fight, it's pretty good.
Oof.
No, it's not good. That's bad. It was awful. But I got really good at that fight by the end of it.
Yeah.
That last run was absolutely flawless.
That sort of classic difficulty.
Anyway, yes. But anyway, let's kind of move on out of here. I think I don't even know how long we've been actually recording this now, because this record timer is kind of lying because we took a break for a minute.
Yep.
But yeah, let's move into our next segment, our weekly link to the past. So this year we have
this year.
It's been a long podcast, guys. So
this knuckles.
Oh man, so this week we have the game Dungeon Keeper for the PC, which released on this day, June 26th, 25 years ago, in the ripe old year of 1997. Alright, so coming straight from the Wikipedia page, Dungeon Keeper is a strategy game developed by Bullfrog Productions and released by Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts. This is back before they were bad.
Yep.
Back before they were worse. And June of 97 for MS-DOS and Windows 95. So the object of the game is you build and you manage a dungeon and you protect it from invading heroes. Oh, that's fun. So it's kind of like you play the villain type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That seems fun.
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yep.
I would like to point out notably that down at the very bottom of this Wikipedia article, it does also cite games that cite the game as inspiration, and the first one on the list is 1999's Lego Rock Raiders, which I played on the PlayStation when I was a kid, and that game was freaking awesome. I think apparently the PlayStation game differed a little bit from the PC release, but still, Lego Rock Raiders was a cool game. So Dungeon Keeper must have been pretty good too.
Dungeon Keeper is inspired Minecraft too, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Infiniminer, Dwarf Fortress, and Dungeon Keeper are all inspirations. I'm pretty sure that's on the Minecraft wiki.
Nice.
And being a Bullfrog Productions game, it was developed in part by one Peter Molyneux, known for the Fable series.
So it's probably got a little bit of that Fable humor in it.
Probably.
Oh, this looks like an interesting game, and it looks like you can get it on GOG and Origin, apparently.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I picked up Dungeon Keeper quite a while back when Origin was still doing their On the House free game giveaway thing.
Nice. Yeah, this would be a fun game to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Dungeon Keeper. Y'all are 25 years old.
That's a pretty big anniversary.
Yeah. On to our final segment here. Lucas, what have you been playing?
I have been grinding away and finally finished my playthrough of Pokemon Gold just last night before we recorded this podcast.
What up? Red is defeat.
Red is defeat. That fight was something.
I can't wait to watch it. Yeah, from what I hear, what was the other fight that was like super stupid for you? Was it the blue battle?
Yes. Blue was very dumb.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of for the same reasons, because his psychic Pokemon that was attacking me with psychic was strong.
Well, I mean, you also forgot that you can just go back and re-challenge the Elite Four for an easy source of level grinding.
You bet I did.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, I won't make that mistake.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't remember that until Colin mentioned it on kind of our pre-show chat.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so Neal, you know this for reference too. Now also.
Okay.
You can re-challenge the Elite Four to grind up levels for Kanto because you will want to.
Yep.
I plan on doing it at least 3 or 4 times. And I mean, once you beat him that first time, the rest of the subsequent runs through it just get quicker and quicker as you level up through it all. So, yeah. But, yeah, so what have you been playing, Neal?
Did I mention Sonic Colors for the DS last week?
I think so.
Remember. I did. Okay. I've been playing more Sonic Colors on the DS. But I also finally started my Silver playthrough.
Whoop!
And by started, I mean started.
Literally started.
Yesterday. No, I had been playing it just a bit on and off recently. But yeah, I didn't get to Mr. Pokemon at the beginning of the game until last night. And I think I just started going into the, like, beyond that gate house, whatever they're called, beginning of the first route.
Yeah.
I don't know Pokemon. I don't know Pokemon at all.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting for me.
Yep. It'll be very educational for you.
But yeah, I've been playing Sonic Origins, obviously.
Yep.
I've been playing Sonic 3 Air. What I haven't been playing is Mario Kart, surprisingly.
Huh.
We've kind of fallen off interest with it, me and my dad. Probably it'll get reignited when the new level pack comes out, whenever that will be.
Yeah.
So, but Minecraft, of course. I don't think I'll ever stop playing that game.
Minecraft Mondays! Every Monday. Twitch.tv/VMK89. Go check it out. It's a good time.
Yeah. There's actually some negative news going around about Minecraft right now.
Negative Minecraft news? That's a thing?
That's definitely a thing.
That's weird.
It sounds like it's a Microsoft issue. We'll probably... I don't know if we'll... Because it's a game announcement episode next. Spoilers. Whoops.
What?
Really good. What?
Next time on That One Gaming Podcast.
we might cover some of the Minecraft stuff on that news roundup that we do. Maybe.
I mean, they did announce a Minecraft game.
They did, so maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah,
They did something stupid with censorship, basically.
Oh no!
Dear.
That involves permabans.
Oh,
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, yeah. We'll have to put a footnote on that one. Come back to it later.
I'm sure there'll be more developments
Yeah.
in this upcoming 2 weeks. So
Right. Yeah. So, as for myself, I just last night wrapped up Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country DLC. And holy wow, what an ending that was. That game, okay, this is technically a DLC for Xenoblade 2, but it's a 17-hour RPG all on its own.
Wow.
So, yeah, it took me 17 hours. Probably takes some people more that are a lot more thorough than I am, but yeah, the one complaint I will say I do have about it is a lot of that, probably a good 3 hours or so, is just padding, because at 2 points during the story in the game, they lock off your story progression until you complete a certain threshold of side content. So the game, they have this feature that they introduced fairly early on around all of the side content in the game. It's called community, and basically whenever you talk to an NPC in that game, they get added to your community. And certain NPCs will then give you side quests, which when you go to complete, they like pledge their allegiance to you, basically. And the more and more people you get to pledge their allegiance to, the higher your community level grows. Well, at one point, well, I was just kind of ignoring that for the longest time, because if there's one thing that the Xenoblade series doesn't quite knock out of the park, it's the side content. Like, it's pretty much all just fetch quests or go here, talk to this person, kill this monster, come back and tell me you did the thing. So I largely just ignore it in these games because the core story is so good that I get all of my satisfaction just out of doing that. I don't need to do like side quests that are just fetch quests or anything like that. So yeah, that was it took a little bit of a wind out of this game's sails for me a little bit. So I still think I prefer Xenoblade 2 proper more as a game, but the story itself in Torna is so good. It's a prequel to Xenoblade 2, takes place 500 years in the past, and kind of shows what sets up the opening hours of Xenoblade 2. And it's kind of like, without spoiling anything, it's kind of like a Rogue One Star Wars type deal, suicide mission type thing. Well, it's not really a suicide mission, but like everybody dies, basically. That's not really spoiling anything because, like, you know right away all of this happens when you start playing Xenoblade 2. But yeah, so right away you have like that weight. Like everything you do is just like, oh man, I know what this is leading up to. I just don't know if I have the courage to finish it. The final battle is really fun. Giant mechs, doing giant mech stuff, always a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I am all set for Xenoblade 3 next month, and that is like my most anticipated game of the year now, after Nintendo just did their Xenoblade 3 Direct last week. Oh my god!
Cool.
Don't sleep on Xenoblade, seriously. It's some of it. I would rank it, okay. Yes, the voice acting can be a little bit divisive because they choose to localize it over in Britain as opposed to North America, so there's a lot more heavy accents than your typical JRPG dub would have. But the story, the character writing, like, I would rank this series up with Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest. Like, it's a very, very high quality story that's definitely worth checking out. But anyway, I'm going to step off of my Xenoblade soapbox now. We're going to wrap up this episode. That's going to be the end of episode 8. So, what's your favorite Sonic game? We would love to hear from you. You can email the podcast directly with comments or questions at fans.togp@gmail.com, and we may read your response on a future episode. Aside from that, you can also find us individually outside the podcast. So, Lucas, where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Carn Evil 9, that one gaming podcast for playthroughs of games for our That One Game episodes, as well as hopefully some other stuff in the future. I also recently took the jump back into Twitter. You can find me there at Carn_Evil_999.
999.
99999. Yes, 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 yes. That's immediately what I thought of when I saw your tag.
Yeah, same here.
Oh man. What about you, Neal?
Well, you already mentioned me on Twitch, Minecraft Mondays. I am also on YouTube at youtube.com/vmk9. And I'm on Twitter as well, although I don't use this nearly as much as Colin or Lucas do. It's mostly just a stream reminder thing. It is at IamVMK89.
All right. And as for me, if you're watching this video on YouTube, you're already in the right place. That's youtube.com/deliciousmorsels. So if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to drop us a comment and let us know what of the several things we probably missed in this episode were. Yeah, we probably missed something. You can also find me occasionally streaming on twitch.tv/deliciousmorsels. I'm working on the logistics of figuring out a regular streaming schedule for this now. I just picked up Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm wondering if I just want to stream that entire playthrough now, because that'd be fun. That'd be kind of fun leading up to Xenoblade 3 next month. So yeah, look out for that. Yeah, maybe I will. And otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at DeliciousMorsel. There's only one morsel on Twitter because character limits suck. And as always, if you liked what you heard here today, please be sure to hit the subscribe button where that's an option. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts because I guess they like that stuff. Hit the like button if that's a thing, and feel free to share this episode with a friend. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode, but until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. The TOGP crew is signing off. See ya!
See ya. Here we go.
Hold on. I will transition us back into this. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Whoosh!
Shoot, you got me with that. Hold on. I'm going to have to get over.